Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you here today for this second episode of This is Floxed. Today's show includes the star of our show, Talia Smith, and also a special guest. Talia had a very successful career in corporate. She also holds a master's degree. And then at some point, her life took an unexpected turn, a journey she couldn't have imagined that she would be going through. Even today, she is someone who is an advocate for the voice of the people who have been floxed, the people who have taken flight because they feel that no one cares. It's almost like they feel they're a community who is alone and no one is listening to them. So Talia is an advocate. She is a role model. She is a leader. And we welcome her here today to share her story and also welcome her special guest. Talia, welcome to the program.
Hi.
It's good to see you today. Thank you for making the time.
Too. Good to see you too. Yes, like Jacqueline said, I had a very healthy, active, happy life. And it all changed with 3 pills of an antibiotic called Cipro. I wish I knew now. I wish I knew then what I knew now. I had no idea what was about to unleash on me when I couldn't walk after my 3rd pill and ended up in the emergency room. And when I told the doctor, I'm perfectly healthy, I just can't walk overnight. The only thing that's changed is that I've been taking this antibiotic. The doctor looked at me and said, "Are you taking Cipro?" And in that moment, I knew my life would never be the same. The fact that he was equating me not walking with Cipro. I just had no idea what was in store for me. 5 months later, my decline was rapid. 5 months later, I was on hospice. I lost over 50% of my body weight. I was 60 pounds and had my last rites read to me. I did not think I was going to be able to be here to tell my story or to even be with my family. So now that I am still here, I've made it my mission to dedicate my life to being an advocate for Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Syndrome and the awareness, because I think most of the time this can be avoided. And I don't want other people to end up like me. And like Jacqueline said, we're the forgotten ones. We're the ones with no voice. And I'm going to be sitting here screaming, shouting from the rooftops as long as it takes, and trying to get other people to find their voice as well. And for those that can't find their voice, I'll just scream a little bit louder for you. And I won't stop until we get the recognition that we deserve. So one of these things to help me do that is being on this show to help spread awareness. So thank you for the introduction, Jacqueline. And I guess I'll just start with Sarah, if that's okay. So welcome to my second episode of This is Floxed. Today we have the Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Study Foundation, which was founded in 2015 to fund and organize research into the causes of FQAD, that's Fluoroquinolone-Associated Disability, and potential treatments. Uniquely, all members live with long-term effects of FQAD themselves and therefore understand what we're going through, as well as have many personal sacrifices to their mission, one of which is that most of the funding has come from the founder's personal savings. Joining us today is Sarah Sedgwick, the Communications Director. After her fifth reaction to fluoroquinolone in 2013, she had to leave the workforce to focus on her health. She joined the foundation in 2018 and manages the foundation's website, platform, communication. She leads outreach with stakeholders and agencies worldwide and plays an active role in supporting the foundation's research initiatives. So, welcome, Sarah. Very happy to have you here today and representing the foundation.
Oh, yes, good to see you. And yes, thank you for having us here today.
Yeah. So I think the best way to kick off this episode is just to ask, because so many people ask me about your organization, who and what is the Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Study Foundation, and how did you all get together?
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't know who we are, but the idea of the foundation began in 2014 when our founder, Jerzy Czeskovsky, met Jane Crosby over in Washington, D.C. And there were a group of severely affected FQAD patients attending a critical meeting there with members of the U.S. Senate and Congress. So this was extremely important first step. It was also the first time that DNA damage was caused by fluoroquinolone antibiotics was formally presented to a U.S. Health Committee. And that moment basically sparked a bold idea to launch the world's first individual study on mitochondrial and genomic DNA damage in a larger group of FQAD patients. And this was later coordinated by what would soon to become known as the foundation. And at the same time, patient support groups were starting to grow. The awareness both among people that were sick and also that some of the public was steadily increasing. At that time, the foundation Jerzy and Jane saw an urgent need to dig deeper and to review the scientific literature that was out there. And they went through thousands of studies with the scientists. And all of those studies are now in our research library. And they also decided to engage with the medical and research communities and start sharing real world patient experiences at that time. The foundation officially launched in 2015 with nothing but determination, and today we remain the only international organization who organizes research fully dedicated to this issue, and we've done it all pro bono since day one. So over the past decade, we've had the honor of collaborating with the respected names in this field, such as the late Dr. Jay Cohen and Dr. David Flockhart, as well as Dr. Stephen Pipa, who a lot of people know, and Professor Beatrice Gollum over at UCSD, as well as our independent consultants, Dr. Carrera, Dr. Beer, Dr. Gustafson, and Dr. Petrushinsky. So back in 2018, we sent hundreds of correspondence to all country representatives at the WHO, the WHO, as well as the FDA and the EMA, which is the European medical agencies similar to the FDA. So including multiple phone calls with the EMA's division called PRAC. So what began as a grassroots effort has grown into a global mission built through sometimes, unfortunately, 90-hour weeks, and often while we do not feel well at all. So while we can't give medical advice, we can share insights from our research and global collaborations through our website, media, and talks like this.
So first of all, I want to say, if there's one thing I understand, it's trying to work and be functional when you don't feel well. So really kudos to all of you at the foundation for doing this for so many years and supporting the community. And not only that, the pushback I cannot imagine that you've experienced. I know it in such a short amount of time. People don't like discussing this topic. And so I can imagine what you went through to get where you are today. And I really think it's very impressive that you worked with some of the legends in this field, like the late Dr. Cohen. It's pretty amazing. I only get to read his books, so I think that's pretty amazing. So can you talk about some of the research that, the organized research that you've been doing over the years?
Sure. And I know most people would not know about this unless they've been on our website.
Yeah.
So to fully understand the mechanism of the damage the mechanism causing the damage before treatments can be determined, and to try and resolve those problems. So this needs to be fully understood. So I think a lot of people don't quite understand that and keep kind of throwing things at this condition, and then things aren't working. So in 2017, we began testing FQAD patients and found something alarming. 100% showed signs of DNA damage, likely caused by fluoroquinolones forming strong chemical bonds, especially with the mitochondria DNA. So damage was even seen after a small fluoroquinolone dose, years after exposure. And then in 2019, we explored whether stem cells made from patients' own tissues might help regenerate damaged areas of the body. And we discovered that most FQAD patients have difficulty with growing healthy cell lines, pointing to mitochondrial dysfunction and impaired healing. And that study was organized, that study that we organized was published in 2022 in a medical journal. We've also tested how different antibiotics affect different types of human cells. Fluoroquinolones were by far the most toxic, no surprise there, and especially with longer exposure. Unfortunately, those findings haven't yet been published for reasons beyond our control. But the data is real, raising urgent questions about long-term safety and oversight of these drugs. And all of these studies are in much more detail than can be found on our website. Looking ahead, we're hopeful that 2 key publications we've been working on will be ready to submit for journal publication this year. One is on DNA modifications linked to fluoroquinolones, and another is exploring oxygen absorption issues in damaged cells, both of which further support the growing body of evidence pointing to mitochondrial dysfunction as a central problem in FQAD. And I just want to quickly explain something, because a lot of people wouldn't understand this about science and getting published in scientific journals. Getting published in a journal is really important because it shows the research is solid and has been reviewed by a panel of experts. It also helps other scientists find your study and your work and possibly expand on it. And that's super important for us to continue down our path. And sometimes journals will have a bias and will not publish certain studies. So even censorship after you've even published the study. So these are the things that we're up against.
Sounds very challenging, putting studies together like that. What has it been like over the years of dealing with this kind of pushback?
Sure. Well, extremely hard. You have no idea. We face much resistance even within our own organized research teams, which make publishing studies a real challenge. To date, we haven't been able to secure grants, funding, or attract support from charities because many are simply too cautious to get involved with the issue of drug toxicity. So, and then in the United States, research is incredibly expensive. I mean, you're looking at several $100,000 to usually millions of dollars for one study. So we've partnered with overseas labs to get the work done so far, and we're really grateful to the few scientists who stood by us, often volunteering or working for reduced pay. Our co-founders, Jersey and Jane, have spent their life savings to fund the foundation, and covering the lab work, overseas travel to those locations, and everyday operations like internet, software, and so much more. It costs a lot to run a foundation. We deeply appreciate all our past donors, and we have some donors that donate monthly throughout the year. And today we hope the audience will maybe consider supporting us with a donation as well.
So I just want to take a little break here and talk about fluoroquinolone toxicity in general. I get a lot of questions from people that are flocks, so I figured I'd just put like the top 3 questions that I receive. And since you have your sponsored research, I thought it'd be a great idea for you to answer these questions as well.
Sure,
So
go ahead.
the first question I always get is, fluoroquinolone toxicity has been defined as mitochondrial damage, but what does that actually mean? And why can't mitochondria just like fix themselves and regenerate?
Sure. And I feel like I talk about this a lot on the platforms,
Yeah.
mitochondria.
Yeah.
But it's important. The mitochondria are like little batteries inside your cells, and they power everything from your muscles to your nerves, your brain, and your heart. Um, Fluoroquinolones can damage mitochondrial DNA because these antibiotics are designed to attack bacteria. And mitochondria actually evolved from bacterial ancestors. So these drugs sometimes confuse the two, hence all the damage, which is not very convenient, but apparently effective for some things. When the DNA is damaged, your body struggles to make energy, and that's why symptoms can be so widespread and systemic. But the hopeful part is if enough healthy mitochondria are still functioning, your body can slowly replace the damaged ones, and this is really key. It does take time. Each person, and sometimes a lot of time. Recovery might be slow or faster depending on how much damage was done, your genetics, and how well you protect your own system during the healing process. So you have to kind of think of your body like a battery. If you're feeling 20% better, don't use all that 20% of energy all at once. Let it build to 25, 30% until you kind of get up to a level of 70% or more. And then you can kind of gradually return to a steadier routine. And this is kind of really critical because you can start relapsing. So healing isn't just about time, it's also about respecting your limits. So it'd be very crucial to avoid anything that puts more stress on your mitochondria. And that would include things like emotional stress. You can kind of start to feel your body kind of caving in when that starts to happen. It's not a pleasant feeling. Overexertion, processed foods, farmed fish, which can be full of antibiotics of all types, non-organic meats for the same reason, alcohol, toxic chemicals, cigarette smoke, and especially other medications known to be mitochondrial toxic, and they are out there, like some antibiotics, steroids, or anesthesia agents used in surgeries. We recently did video posts on some of these along with Utalia, so they can also be found on our website and on our older posts on our platforms. So recovery is possible. It's not going to be always very easy at all for some people, and certainly not a straight path. And it can be up and down multiple times if you're relapsing. But we've seen people come back from very dark places, and we're doing everything we can at the foundation to try and make that path clearer for those still on the journey, including ourselves.
I think something you said was key in your response there, because I've heard people say so many times, like, your body heals itself. Why isn't that happening? And I don't think that many people know that mitochondria came from bacteria, right? So when
Yeah,
you
I
explain
didn't know
how,
that.
what'd you say?
I said I didn't know that.
Me neither. So when you explain that it goes and attacks, good and bad, because it can't really like tell the difference, I think that's a very big explanation as to why your body just isn't healing itself. Because,
Yeah.
so many people have told me our bodies were made to heal themselves. So when you're not healing, you're like, what is wrong with me? I'm not understanding. But I think that statement that you made right there, just like that, makes the light bulb go off for me. So thank you. I hope it does for the viewers too. The next question I have, I'm sure you've gotten this so many times. I've taken a fluoroquinolone before and was fine, so I don't have to worry. Or I get asked, I've only taken a couple of pills or ear drops or eye drops, so I should be fine, right?
Yeah. Well, we hear that all the time too, and my friends say that as well. in the past. So it's a very common belief, and we understand why people feel reassured that they've previously taken these drugs and then no problem, or they just had a couple of pills. Unfortunately, the answer isn't very simple. No one is completely immune to the risk of fluoroquinolone toxicity. And according to recent scientific studies, even a single dose, for example, of ciprofloxacin can initiate a process that damages the mitochondria, and also shows, and these studies have also shown that they can accumulate in the tissues and linger in the body for months after that last dose. So even if the symptoms aren't immediately noticeable, in some individuals that buildup can eventually lead to very serious health issues. Reactions can occur just after one dose, like one pill, 3 in your instance, Talia, while others may tolerate several courses before possibly experiencing symptoms. So it depends less on the number of pills or whatever form you took taken, and more on how your body processes and responds to the drug. So even topical forms like eye or ear drops can enter the bloodstream and also contribute to toxicity. And a lot of people really are not aware of that at all. So there's several factors influencing someone's susceptibility, which it would include your current mitochondria health and antioxidant defenses, age, body weight, your lifestyle, genetics, environmental exposures, coexisting medical conditions, as well as medications taken before, during, or after treatment of the fluoroquinolone drugs. And then any past exposure to fluoroquinolones could obviously really set you off. So, and a lot of people aren't aware they've taken these drugs in the past. So people with impaired liver or kidney function or genetic differences in drug metabolism may be especially vulnerable because the full mechanism behind fluoroquinolone toxicity is still being uncovered regards to damage. Genetic I can't say that word, susceptibility remains an urgent area of research. So it's impossible to predict exactly who will be affected, when, or really to what extent, unfortunately. So don't let anyone dismiss your symptoms based on how much you took or what form you took. Lasting effects mean your body was impacted beyond the typical drug package insert side effects. And you deserve recognition, support, and proper medical care, just like everybody else.
And this research and these studies and this evidence that is out there that supports this is in direct opposition to how allopathic medical doctors think, right? So you just said that fluoroquinolones stay in the cells and the tissues for a long time. And I remember when I first got floxed, my doctor immediately started informing me about the half-life of the drug, that it cannot be in your body anymore. And I cannot tell you how many times I was in the hospital, ER, admitted, and they were all saying the same thing. It cannot stay in your body. And yet there's all this research and documentation that proves otherwise. There's just such a huge disconnect, and I'm hoping things like this help bridge that gap, because it's very unfortunate. It's in your body, and the people that are supposed to help you are telling you the opposite. It's extremely discouraging, especially when you first get floxed. You get used to it when you've been floxed for a long time, but at the beginning, it's rough. Yeah. The last question I want to ask you, I had 3. I could ask you like 20, but I'll only ask you 3, is 100% of people have asked me this. I have asked this question myself because, along the lines of what I was just talking about, doctors not believing you and gaslighting you. What tests can I take to prove to these people that I have fluoroquinolone toxicity?
That is the $1 million question, unfortunately. Currently, there's no single definitive test to diagnose the toxicity, but that doesn't mean doctors can't recognize it. During my interview with Dr. Pieper, he had indicated even a young, inexperienced doctor could make a possible diagnosis based on timing and the symptoms alone for the newly affected. We hope, right? So the pattern is very symptom specific, often appearing immediately or several weeks after taking the drug, which that could be a little bit more challenging, and affecting multiple systems at once. So you're going to be have problems going on in the nervous system, your muscles, digestion, and cognitive, and such things like that, cognitive abilities. Doctors can run several tests when fluoroquinolone toxicity is suspected, and these can include autoimmune markers, hormone panels, and neurological screenings like the PNFL test. It's a blood test which helps detect nerve damage. And more people are probably excuse me, more aware of in advanced clinics. You can get that small fiber nerve biopsy puncture test done, which is a little bit more intrusive. Other tests are for patients who develop histamine intolerance. The DAO enzyme test is used to assess their ability to break down histamine properly. There's a urine or blood oxidative stress test, and this test measures DNA damage from oxidative stress, often caused by free radicals overwhelming the body's defenses. It's especially relevant to FQAD and can also give insight into the mitochondrial damage, which is believed to play a role in the condition, of course. Another test is a key marker for 8-OHDG, and this is usually measured through a urine test. It reflects oxidative damage, especially to your DNA. And these tests are available through LabCorp or Quest, or could be ordered by your doctor. There's a toxicology departments in clinics and universities that can check the level of drug concentration in serum or plasma under a special order name of fluoroquinolone toxicity. More like fluoroquinolone poisoning. And then you have the big Nutraval FMV test by Genova Diagnostics. And this is a very comprehensive test for functional medicine panel that evaluates antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, amino acids, digestive support markers, including mitochondrial markers, and the organic acid test, which is also known as the OAT test that a lot of people get done separately. So that would be included in that big test, and it's a huge test. It's like 18 pages long. And then the final test that can be done is for people who are a lot of flux people experience mast cell activation syndrome. So there's multiple tests related to that can be performed as well. And we will post these tests along with our site links, since it's a lot to remember.
Well, I think after this episode, people will be going there and ordering those tests.
Yeah, me too. I need to do them as well.
Yeah. I remember, this is just a story from when I first got floxed. You know, like I said, if you've heard my story before, to anybody watching, I was never sick before. I did not know how to navigate the medical system. And I quickly realized that the Western medicine system was not going to help me. So I started seeing functional medicine doctors, naturopath doctors, and they all wanted me to take the OATS test, which is what you had just mentioned, organic acid test. Everybody wanted it. So I thought it was like this test that the world knew about. So I took the organic acid test, and they said, oh my God, look at all your mitochondrial markers. Look at the problems we have here. Because it does show mitochondrial markers and stuff like that. And so one of the times that I was hospitalized, you know, at a regular hospital, I brought all my tests in and was like, here's my OATS test. Look what it shows about me. And the doctor was like, the what? And she's looking at the test like, what is this? Is this even a real test? I don't even know how to read it. That's how she was talking to me. And I said, well, look who ordered it. There's MD after the person's name, you know? And then I realized, oh boy, I'm in for it. Like how to bridge the gap. Like I've got this test that shows that, but they weren't really recognizing that. So hopefully, you know, like the other tests that you mentioned too will be more like accepted.
Exactly.
Even if you have doctors that don't accept this, there are doctors that do to treat, right? Regenerative medicine doctors usually want you to take that OATS test. So it's still valuable whether the Western medical system acknowledges it or not. I just thought that
Yeah.
was a funny story. Like, look at my test. And then they were like,
Yeah.
out the window. So I
I'm
was
sure
like,
you're not alone.
yeah, exactly. So, what does the latest data show about how many people are impacted by fluoroquinolone toxicity? Has it changed a lot at all recently? You know, we've done a lot of work in the past on these numbers. So, has it
Yeah.
changed?
Um, I kind of got a little bit of mixed information. They said like the numbers hadn't really changed, but then they also said, oh, there's 30 to 40% drop in recent years but millions were exposed during the peak years, for the last 15, 20 or more years. And also, especially during COVID, because fluoroquinolones were used a lot in the hospital settings for people with COVID. And unfortunately, we probably have a lot new people coming into our world. In 2023 alone, the CDC reported 14.6 million US prescriptions. And serious reactions, they believe 3 to 5% of users. Who truly knows? It could be a lot more than that, especially with people who have repeated use of these drugs or have a genetic susceptibility. And this could amount to hundreds of thousands to 1 million cases per year in the US alone. And then over time, millions may be affected because you got a lot of people living with a long-term damage like us. It's not just a year or two. So imagine that it just keeps building on itself. And most of these people go unrecognized every single day and don't know what's wrong with them. So really hard to gauge. And then globally, the number is even much higher because multiple reasons. A lot of these drugs down in South America, for example, we know, and in India up till recently, are sold over the counter. So you can just walk into a gas station or store and just buy them, which is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, just to add to what you were saying, I think when the word rare does us such a huge disservice, because I don't think there's actually proof on how rare fluoroquinolone toxicity is. The FDA themselves, know that they have problems with their reporting, and not just that, reporting this is self-reporting. If you don't report that you are floxed, you do not get counted in the numbers to come up with that 3 to 5%, right? And to your point, how many people don't even know that they're floxed that would never report it? How many people are too sick or have too much trauma to report it? So I think the numbers are grossly underestimated. And even if it was really 3 to 5%, let's just say, the point that I want the viewers to understand is that even though it may be small in percentage, the number of people impacted is enormous because of the amount of prescriptions being prescribed. So if you have millions and millions of prescriptions being prescribed, and you take that 3 to 5% number, that ends up being a very high number in the end. So, when people throw out the comments, it's only 1 to 2%, 3 to 5. What does that equal in numbers? That's the part that's mind blowing, right? So
And
I
that's
just
yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that's the part I want the viewers to understand.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the key points that we made to the CDC, trying to get this ICD-10 code because it's not rare. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I've been dying to ask you this question, and I can't wait. Can you talk about the groundbreaking project that you are working on right now? The viewers are going to be so excited to hear about this.
Well, we've completed a research plan for a standardized, rapid, affordable test that can that can detect DNA damage caused by fluoroquinolone antibiotics within minutes. Our goal for this test was for this test to be simple, reliable, and globally accessible, not just for the USA, and for use in both humans and animals. So pets get prescribed fluoroquinolone drugs too. And we have that in our drug lists of people. If you're taking your pet to the vet, you want to look up those fluoroquinolones on our website. This diagnostic tool of this kit would be a game changer in early detection, particularly in low resource settings. We anticipate the kit development process to take about 2 to 3 years with an estimated cost of several $100,000 if it can be raised. And this test is actually part of a much, much larger project, very important project that we've been working on for several months with scientists from other countries. The project would take 3 to 5 years or so, and is now ready to go and move forward, but we are looking for funding. Our aim is to further understand how fluoroquinolone antibiotics cause damage at the molecular level. So with the right investment of several $1 million, the hope is to develop treatment for one of the most important factors, which is DNA modifications. And our goal is to bring hope and healing to the millions of people around the world living with FQAD, and to help change the way modern medicine approaches antibiotic safety and personalized treatment.
The key word here, game changer, right? For a couple of reasons. First of all, here's my proof. But second of all, for so many people that don't know that they're floxed, that suspect they might be floxed, this would be a great test to tell you right away that you've been impacted, and then you can go down that path of treatment. Because so many times when you are floxed and you get into the Western medical system, floxing ends up turning into fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, MS, so at least if you have that marker, listen, I've been impacted by that. Maybe I should spend some more time looking at that recovery process instead of fibromyalgia or something like that. I think this would be an absolute game changer, and something that we really need desperately. So what do you need to help make this happen?
Well, as I said before, our research and our foundation faced unique challenges due to the focus that it's drug-induced harm. So that makes funding extremely difficult for us. So with personal resources nearly exhausted, we urgently do need support. While all donations help, large or small, and we're very grateful for that. We're especially seeking philanthropic sponsors to sustain this vital work for the millions still suffering without answers. So I want to appeal to the audience or anybody listening out there that has access to somebody that might have significant funds that would be interested in talking to us about doing something such as these projects.
This would be extremely important for validation as well, right? For all of the doctors in the community out there that doesn't even believe fluoroquinolone toxicity is real, right? So this would be huge all around, game changer. And Jacqueline has up there on the website how to get to your page, fq100.org, and then the donate now. We'll talk about more. We'll talk more about that at the end. But yeah. So in all of your research and experience, what would you say is the single most important thing for recovering from fluoroquinolone toxicity?
Oh, the big question. Well, based on current medical literature and mainly clinician experience, recovery from FQAD appears to, it's going to rely on a range of factors with no single treatment proving universally effective. And if you go on the support groups, you can see everything that people are trying, and it's out of desperation. A consistent recommendation would be to, trying to find a healthcare provider who understands the complexity of this condition, which we know is difficult. And also including for them to know the potential impacts on your mitochondrial function, connective tissues, the nervous system, and your detoxification pathways. One of the most emphasized strategies is basically to make sure you do strict avoidance of further fluoroquinolone exposures, even in less obvious forms like the eye drops, ear drops, and surgical IV. I want to make a point here. A lot of people are unaware that when you undergo surgery, I don't know if it's every time or certain things, you can have possible fluoroquinolone IVs. And I believe they don't even have to let you know that you'll be getting that. So you're going to want to check if you're having surgery about that. Re-exposure, even in the smallest of doses, can be associated with relapses. I think I'm a queen of relapsing and worsening of symptoms. In a more advanced or severe cases, clinicians have reported that patients may not tolerate basically any oral supplements due to gastrointestinal sensitivity, impaired nutrient absorption, and probably problems with your detox pathways. In those situations, there's alternative delivery methods to get that support, such as sublingual, which would be under the tongue, or transdermal, this patches for your skin, or intravenous IV nutrient therapy. And all of these may be considered to support your mitochondrial health and reduce the oxidative stress that's coming from the mitochondrial problem. And also replenish essential cofactors that the fluoroquinolones displace, like magnesium, which is a huge one, and that controls 300 functions in your body alone. Glutathione, just some of the B vitamins, and CoQ10. These protocols often are more personalized because they're going to be based on your own lab findings and your body's tolerance to any of that. Additionally, doctors can also recommend minimizing exposure to known physiological stressors, and this would include things such as NSAIDs, such as ibuprofen, certain medical imaging, which, as I said before, we've done videos and postings on those, corticosteroids, contrast dyes, which is a big one to look out for, certain anesthetics is something else we've also discussed before, and even specific food or supplements. All of these can exacerbate your body and symptoms, especially in the early phases of recovery, and that could even be in the first 1 to 2 years. Many clinicians advocate for anti-inflammatory and low histamine diets and the very gradual reintroduction of physical activity, and that's a very delicate point to go through is trying to rebuild your physical activity, and this is based on your individual threshold, of course, for sure. While there's no standardized protocol, a multidisciplinary and cautious approach that includes nutritional support, neurological, and metabolic support is going to be currently seen as the most promising path forward to trying to stabilize your body and stabilize what's going on. And so one thing we do want to stress is that please tell your doctor you have possible mitochondrial dysfunction, and hopefully you have a physician that will mention that in your health folder.
Can you, just going to expand upon this question, can you just discuss the importance of time? Because I feel like many people that reach out to me and that are floxed are like, when I say that it's going to be a long recovery, it's not that quick for most people. And it's like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to get sick. I have kids. Well, we all did. All of us that got floxed did too. And I'm impatient. And here I am 4 years later. I feel like my head's going to pop off. I'm still sitting here. But I think that time is a huge factor in recovery, that your body's gonna want to do what it wants to do. I mean, I don't know the right way to say that, but could you just comment on the factor of time in this whole healing process?
Sure. And then also depends, on multiple factors. Just for instance, my situation, the first couple of times I took a fluoroquinolone drug, I had maybe just one thing happen, like a tendon, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't healing. And then a year later, it was fine. But then, if you start getting more of a systemic reaction, like it's accumulated, built up, or your genetics aren't that great, and you've been hit really hard, it really varies. And unfortunately, this condition is the king of trying to be patient. It's incredibly hard and difficult, unfortunately. And there's no quick way to force your body to really start repairing itself. You're just going to have to wait. And that is very difficult for a lot of people to hear. And it could take a year, 2 years. Everybody's completely different because we're all, as I said, on all the things we've discussed, it could be due to multiple things. So, yeah. that's really hard.
Yeah. And I always feel really bad saying it, but it's just, I don't want people to make themselves worse by going crazy and trying to do too many things at once because they want to get better fast. I wanted to get better fast too, but I also learned the hard way.
I think we've all done that. And so a lot of us take it from our experience. Yeah, trying 10 things at one time or even back to back, it can actually make things worse. And that's really difficult to gauge. It's really difficult. And I don't really know what to say about that.
Yeah, I know.
Especially with the nutraceuticals, supplements. You're really going to have to be very careful and pace yourself.
Yep. So, I cannot have you on the show without talking about the project, ICD-10. The project, the ICD-10 codes. So for the viewers watching that may not know this, I worked with Sarah on the Fluoroquinolone Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Study Foundation, some other patient advocates, and Dr. Pieper at the end to request ICD-10 medical diagnostic codes for fluoroquinolone antibiotics adverse effects. I think it's actually the adverse effects of fluoroquinolone antibiotics. And that proposal went to the CDC in March of 2024. Dr. Pieper presented that. It was approved to be released this year in October. But that's all the guidance we've been given from the CDC, is that it's approved starting in October. So with that, we've gotten so many questions. Well, what does that mean in October? What happens? It's because this is such a big deal. And, like Dr. Stefan Pieper said, it's equivalent of man landing on the moon for those of us that are floxed. So do you have any suggestions on how Floxy should approach this when the codes come out in October?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun working on that because I think we had 2 weeks, you, me, Talia, and our foundation members pulling out our hair. It was very long hours, a lot of stress. Yeah, while we're not obviously very versed in coding, I am still trying to actually get some more information about this. I might reach out back to the CDC. They are supposed to be coming out in October, and I know somebody on the board support groups mentioned, oh, there's no new code. Well, it goes into a slot where there's other antibiotics that have issues. So we're under that umbrella. And we've been thinking about, how are people going to be using this code and approach their doctors? So, recovery from the fluoroquinolone toxicity can be slow and requires, a lot of persistence and patience. And many doctors are still completely unaware of the long-term effects, and patients stop seeking care after being dismissed or receiving normal standard test results. So the new diagnosis codes offer a way to formally document our cases, and it's like the first step forward, right? It's not going to be maybe an all about miracle, but it's going to be a step towards recognition of this condition, insurance coverage, and future research inclusion. So when people start going to their doctor and say this is the code, because we'll give out what that code is when we get that from the CDC officially, and these doctors are going to have to start viewing people that have this problem, and as that data builds, it's only going to help improve our situation because of the recognition. But it could take time.
What is your advice on how we can communicate fluoroquinolone toxicity to standard medical providers?
Super tough question. I know. A lot of us are in that boat,
giving you all
right?
the hard ones today, Sarah.
Thank you, Talia. Well, hopefully you can find an open-minded primary care provider. I actually found a doctor of osteopath within my Western medical insurance plan who understands this drug. So that's great. I need to put her on the list too, I think. So if you can find an open-minded primary care physician, that would be super, right? Unfortunately, otherwise you have to turn to somebody that practices functional or integrative medicine and start with those people. And hopefully you can try and determine, is this person going to be willing to document my symptoms and apply the code? That is the grand plan. On our website, there's a resources section, and we offer 2 downloadable lists. One is a new list we started to build. It's still in its early stages, of fluoroquinolone-aware doctors in the US and overseas. And another is a list of mitochondrial entities and doctors' names there who may be able to help you depending on where you're located. And I want to say some of these FQ doctors we've got listed do telemedicine, but those are going to be mainly the doctors that are overseas. So you're probably going to need to find a doctor in the USA. So to help ensure your symptoms are taken seriously, we also suggest bring a structured symptoms checklist to your appointment. And we're going to be having something like that available soon on our website. Right now, we have some stuff from Dr. Pieper on there. It's geared to more FQAD, which is more a comprehensive situation, that we all have, that it's not recognized by the CDC, unfortunately, yet. You can also download there's a Dear Doctor letter, and that was written by a Phlox physician, and that's also located on that same resources page, but it's down towards the bottom. And yeah, if you're looking at the screen, it's going to be further down than the support. Under the support groups, you're going to find all these other things. We have a lot of support groups there.
Yeah, there's the Dear Doctor.
There you go. There's the Dear Doctor letter. Yeah.
I think this is such great information, and I don't think people know that this is there. So
Probably
this is
not. I've tried to post it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that we're having this show so people can go and check out all the resources you've worked so hard on for the community.
Yeah, and this new form is pretty extensive. It's going to be geared a bit differently than what Dr. Pieper has. So hopefully people can find some use for that as well.
What kind of outside tests might be helpful to bring to these doctors?
Sure. The supportive tests that we discussed earlier that we will be putting out there. Any imaging scans that indicate any damage, of course, would be great. And then also important would be to probably locate your original fluoroquinolone prescription receipt. You can ask your pharmacist. I believe they might keep those up to 10 years if you never kept yours in your file. Also, a symptom timeline of adverse effects and all your reactions you've been having, maybe along with the dates. I can't say enough how important that really is. Unfortunately, I did not do that for myself, and I highly regret that. So please, especially if you're starting out, start documenting everything that you're feeling and going through every single day in a journal, and keep that and take that with you to your appointment. Probably also good to print out certain studies on fluoroquinolone damage, and as well as the FDA black box warnings, and we will gather this information ahead of October and put that out there so people have these resources.
Awesome. October will be here soon.
Yeah, it's just a couple months away. So
yeah. It feels like it was so far
watch
away.
out.
I know, when they said it was approved, they're like, oh, we have to wait all the way to October.
A year.
But guess what? It's here. It's coming. So all of you at the foundation have lived with long-term effects of FQAD, but you have access to what other physicians are exploring and researching. Can you discuss what areas of treatment are currently being investigated?
Sure. We are in frequent talks with other scientists and especially physicians overseas, exchanging ideas and collaborating on what they're finding with their patients. And some things that are being tested out are hydrogen therapy, oxygen therapy, hyperbaric chamber, therapeutics, therapeutic plasma exchange, and intravenous immunoglobulin, and something called the normobaric chamber, which is a gentler version of the hyperbaric chamber. For those in a more stable condition, treatment with mitochondria cocktails and supplementation and protocols for mast cell activation syndrome and glutathione injections are also being used. And, as we see stuff being more successful, we would definitely let the community know such things as we find out.
So I know we're getting close to time here, so I would like to end our show by asking you if you can give our viewers a message of hope that recovery is possible. You yourself said you're the queen of reflux.
No, relapses. Yeah,
Relapse. Sorry.
refluxing. Yeah. I do a really good job at that. I've
Yeah.
had 13,
So
lucky number 13 of those.
and so many other people experience the same thing and become so discouraged. And I find, that people I talk to a lot are really scared just to live their lives in fear of becoming fluxed again. And if I ever get to the point of being healed, I'm pretty sure I'll be one of those people too. So, can you leave us with a message of hope for what life looks like after this and that we will actually recover?
Well, there's more information getting out than ever before. I mean, truly. And then that's really encouraging to us as a foundation, and hopefully that encourages the audience. We've got some very powerful tools that just sort of came about in the last year or two, which is the AI and machine learning. And those can really sift through decades of research, patient data, define patterns, and guide personalized treatments. So I think that will really be implemented into studies going forward, and it's going to accelerate things. Especially, we've got Kennedy now heading up the HHS and pushing for big changes. There's really a lot finally getting. I mean, there's a real good shot for us to finally get recognition and momentum for this condition, I think, in approaching him. Plus, research into things like long COVID. A lot of people have long COVID, and some of those people have fluoroquinolone damage, right? And you got the chronic fatigue syndrome group, and all those patients are fighting like crazy. I follow a couple of things online. They have conditions. Some of their symptoms in their condition have similarities to us. So funding for those are expanding and could help unlock answers to what we're suffering from too. So honestly, we are in such a more hopeful place than we were even 10, 13 years ago when I came into the support groups. I've seen a massive change, and it's super hopeful.
Yeah, I just like to say before we go and before Dr. Jacqueline comes back on is that just a reminder that the foundation's website is fq100.org, FQ for fluoroquinolones. It's a very easy website to get to, and their research urgently needs support. Please consider making a donation on their contact page. No amount is too small, and if you have connections to individuals with the capacity to fund these large-scale projects that Sarah has discussed, I'm sure they would be deeply grateful for your introductions. Your support today could help change the future, including for yourself. So thank you, Sarah, for joining. Thank you for everyone that's watching and considering helping get some of these projects going and finished. Is there anything that you want to discuss, Sarah, before Dr. Jacqueline comes on?
I just want to quickly remind people that we're active on Facebook and Twitter, and those links are on our website. And while our focus does remain on driving research forward, and we're not legally able to provide medical advice, we're working to make sure our website provides as much resources as possible to the community. So please stay connected to us on either one of those social media platforms for ongoing education and the latest developments and things that we come across and hear about. So we will make sure we get that out.
Yeah.
And thank you for having us today.
Make sure you go to their website to find out all of those fantastic resources, the doctor letter, the tests that you can take. Like, make sure you spend some time on that website. I'm going to.
I don't have the test on there yet, but I will get those up. But I will probably do a post on those either today or tomorrow. Thanks so much. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Talia, and thank you, Sarah. That was an incredibly powerful interview, and I just love the way that you both closed it out with the message of hope, because I think that's so important. There are a number of comments on the various platforms, so thank you to everyone who reached out. We had discussed before the show whether or not it made sense to put the comments up, and because there was so much information and research and data to share, it was impossible. But we do appreciate you, and we will actually have Talia get back to you on all of those questions and comments. So thank you. Talia, anything you want to share about what's coming up in a future episode?
Future episode. I'm so excited. I have found someone that's treating Floxies in another state, and I don't think anybody knows about this person. I don't. So this will be great. Probably another resource for Floxies to get treatment. And then after that, I'm very, very excited about, I'm so passionate about mast cell and fluoroquinolone toxicity. I have a world-renowned mast cell doctor joining the show called Dr. Kelly McCann. You all have probably heard of her. she's very big in that area, so she'll be joining in July. And next month I have the special doctor. I'm not going to give out any names yet for that one, but I think the next 2 episodes are going to be really good. So we'll have another option for treatment, and then help for those of us that are suffering so terribly from mast cell and being floxed.
Thank you for that. And sometimes it is hard to give out specific names because we never know what's going to happen, right? It's something happens at the last minute.
Oops.
Talia, what I'd really love for you to share as we close out today, because I think this is really important. You and Sarah, both beautiful, strong women, intelligent, well-spoken. Somebody could watch and say, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with either one of them. And I just say that because I have ulcerative colitis that can't seem to get into remission. People say that to me all the time. There's nothing wrong with you. What does it take for you to prepare for a show like this today, the last episode and this episode, if you would mind sharing, because it's a lot for someone who isn't going through anything, but what does it actually involve for you to get ready for the show?
Right, because people can only see me from head up, so don't realize everything that I'm going through, but I'm actually sitting on a hospital bed. I'm sitting on the side of my hospital bed, and to get ready, I have 24/7 care. I cannot care for myself at all. So I needed help today to get ready for the interview, put my iPad, my phone, do my hair, put my clothing on, whole 9 yards just to do this interview, because this is how much we need to change. I just push it as far as I can. And then, that's just like the mechanics of it. Now, the physical aspect of this is that you all probably won't hear much from me for the rest of the day because I'm exhausted, and talking a lot really bothers me. So I'll probably be, laying down and resting, but it takes a lot to make this happen, especially from a hospital bed, and when you can't do a single thing by yourself and need someone to help you. I mean, we were backstage and my aide was brushing my hair for me before we were getting ready. So that's what it's like for me.
Thank you, Talia. I really appreciate your honesty. And the reason I asked that is because I want people to understand how committed you are to this and what it actually does in terms of taking a toll on you physically and mentally for you to show up as the advocate that you are. So thank you so much. We do have your contact details on the screen. What is the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Anybody can reach out to me. I know people that are even sick with other conditions reach out to me just because they need hope or advice. So really anybody can reach out to me, and probably This Is Floxed, my website, is the best way. But I'm on every social media platform. And if you just go to any of my platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok, anywhere, you'll see that I have a Linktree link that shows how to get to me everywhere. But thisisflox.com is probably the easiest thing for you to remember to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. We're bringing up your website now. Let's take a look.
There's a little contact section that people contact me regularly on, so it definitely works. And I try to get back to you as soon as possible.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'd like to just share before we close out today. I'm actually on an antibiotic myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to look it up and see what it is. And I'm thinking, I didn't want to go on this thing to begin with. And I felt much better before I went on it. So just a word of advice or caution to everyone, maybe get second, third, fourth opinions before you start taking something that you don't know how it's going to impact you. And again, none of us are medical doctors. So we'll just give the disclaimer that we're here to provide education, inspiration, and hope.
Yep.
All right, Talia, I'll let you go and get some rest, and just know how proud of you I am. And so is the whole community and everybody watching. So take good care of yourself and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Until next time.
Bye for now. All right, please do go and follow Talia and Sarah. Get some more information so that you can have the education and resources at your fingers. I just know in the last year, my own medical journey has been sort of a nightmare. And I have to be my own advocate because nobody's watching what's going on. One doctor says to take this for this and this to that. And I'm thinking it's like a whole biology project or chemistry project, I should say. And is anyone looking to see how all the things are interacting with each other? I don't know. So be your own advocate, get the information, reach out to the people who are here today. And we'd love to have you, just a shameless plug, if you would subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. We just earned the Silver Creators Award for over 100,000 subscribers. And it's because of people like you that we can bring you this programming. So thank you again. Take good care of yourself. We look forward to seeing you for our next show. And now we're going over to our sponsors. Bye for now.
In a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and interruptions, master the art of listening with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session or drjacqueline.thinkific.com. Join Dr. Kerbeck's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.